I'm recording this on the computer. We will then paste it into other media. Joel, we've had quite a following on this Tuesday night nonprofit chat. Welcome, everyone. We're speaking to those people who are passionate about changing the lives of the people in the communities where we live and the communities in our world, really. Tonight we have people on the call. We have Nick, who's a Canadian. He's in Taiwan. We have Doyle, who's doing a Jobonomics project. Joel, he's in Phoenix. Joel is going to be working with Jobonomics also. Russell Dennis is in Denver, Colorado. He's a specialist in a lot of things to do with nonprofit. Emmanuel is in New Mexico. Am I right? And he's got a project that makes schools safer. And so, Joel, we've posted some questions online, but I want you to tell people a little bit about yourself, maybe a short paragraph. I'm going to set this up. You and I met in Orlando, Florida, when a mutual friend, Don Ward, invited me to come to speak for a CEO Club. And
right.
I'll talk a little bit about the CEO Club, and then you and I had a couple of conversations. I've introduced you to some other people, and we've talked about the Hope Collection. But you also shared with me some really special information about how you supported the work of Ronald Reagan when he was president with your financial analytical abilities. So give people a little snapshot about Joel, your mathematic background, and what was it like to be able to travel incognito and meet with the president and be able to give him really important advice. And then I'd like to talk about how that kind of due diligence would be important to any of us running charities or doing projects. So tell folks a little bit about yourself, your history, and a little bit about Reagan, and then we'll talk in the latter part of this. I want to talk about the Hope Collection and how important that work is to not only the people you support, but charities everywhere. So I'm gonna shut up and let you talk now.
Well, so great to be with you, really, Hugh. You're really such an example for all of us on the show. And I'm just fortunate to be able to hang with you because we have a great friend in common, Don Ward. And it's really, in growing up, you know how you go through school and you take history or you take English or whatever. And I just I've always been a math guy and got my bachelor's, master's, doctoral equivalency back in the day. And I'm an analytic. And I really have done analysis on how things work in the world from Pearl Harbor to today. And I'm constantly doing that. And so at the end of the day, in looking at, as growing up, I was an athlete, an All-American in golf and basketball and all of those sort of things. But there's a sense of dedication to a process, I think, in athletics, particularly golf and those types of things. But it's true when it comes to mathematics. And so mathematics gave me the opportunity to do assessment on how things really are as opposed to what people think, kind of in a general sense. And actually, I was on the committee for the Washington Charity Dinner for Bush 1. And it was going to be at the White House. And when Mr. Reagan learned of that, he said, well, Nancy and I will be happy to host it. And we're like, really? This is pretty cool. So I invited my mother to go with us to the Washington Charity Dinner at the White House. And she got sitting next to a lot of people, and she was kind of bragging on her son, like most moms do. And so I got a call the next day if I would come and chat with them. And hardly anybody, there was only 3 people who knew what I did, because it was important to not be, in Mr. Reagan's eyes, conflicted by politics. And that's if he wanted the real skinny. So I did analysis on a few bills that he would have to sign, and it worked out pretty well. So I continued to do that for about 4.5 years. And the great thing, Hugh, is that I really learned how everything works as opposed to what the media says. There's the media is selling advertisement, and so they've got their niches that they want to appeal to. But the real truth is that government is dealing with all kinds of issues that the world, that the media just doesn't ever even know or talk about. So at this point in time, you may remember the dot-com demise of the end of the last century. After that, I built a database system that's called a Virtual Value Interactive Network. And it's a project management system. And it has 7 components in the database system to manage projects. And those are membership, management, money, marketing, materials, merchandise, and mercy. And they're all verticals, and the whole collection is the nonprofit, the mercy piece. And so it's pretty fortunate that we have a nonprofit that has no overhead because the database system manages it. So it works out extremely well, and we can do a lot of things to help a lot of people, give hope to people.
Well, you're a very charitable person, and I wanted to let people know about this Hope Collection. You went past all those verticals pretty fast. Now, remember my age and mental condition. Let's run. Let's run them by again. All those verticals for the Hope Collection are what?
In a database system, you have members, you have people who are participants. Then you have to manage that. And then there's membership, management, money, which is critical to managing projects. So it's membership, management, money, materials, merchandise, marketing, and mercy. And those are all components of any project.
Are those in some of the material that you've already sent to me? I'd like to post those up for people to see. Actually, we're going to transcribe this interview. And part of the data we're collecting now for the next issue of Nonprofit Performance Magazine is about transitions. And so it would occur to me, a lot of that work you did with those presidents is about, we're always in a state of transition with the government. And you're so right. They, because of security reasons, know things that we don't have a clue about. And of course, everybody in the press has their opinion about it, but they're also in the business of selling media. And it's interesting. I looked at a story a few weeks ago on CNN, CBN, PBS, and Fox. And they were entirely different takes on the story. And it didn't matter what story it was, because I could go back any time and I would find an opinion. And everybody's talking about who's lying, but they're all different opinions, and we're all humans, and it's very subjective. And like you point out, they're only dealing with part of the data. The rest of the data is confidential, and we don't know about it. You have to have a security clearance. But I want to back up a little bit on this whole thing of, if you can comment on that when I give it back to you, but I'm trying to stay out of politics here. My preacher built a church in Atlanta, 12,000 members, because he didn't get into issues. He just talked about principles of Scripture and let people make up their own minds. And at CenterVision, we talk about the principles of making good decisions and the principles for good leadership. And people can make up their own mind of how they're going to vote. But let's go back. The question one I want to pose tonight is, we're all starting new projects. We're launching new initiatives. We're expanding initiatives. We're starting something brand new, like a brand new company or charity. And the kind of work that you did for President Reagan was analyzing the financial feasibility of projects, I believe I heard you say. So in terms of those of us who are social entrepreneurs, what's important and why is it important for us to look at that kind of data before we jump in the pool?
Well, when you look at each situation, that it's sort of like if-then statements are like dominoes, and one leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And each one functions on its own, but then it functions in concert with the others. And that's calculus and differential equations. Mm-hmm. Because you have to figure out what it is the viability and the percentage of success, and what does it cost to keep it at that level of success. And so that starts from, it might be 100 different if-then or 1,000 different if-then statements from start to finish to be able to create a viable project. And so to create sustainability, what is the cost of it versus what's the value of it if it is satisfied? And so you might have something that could work that's worth 10x and only worth X. Do you want to do it then? It depends upon the value of X. Is it important enough to get done? If it is, then sure. However, if something costs X and creates a return of 10X, then that's really good from a dollars and cents viewpoint. So therefore, if the dollars and cents are good, and the result of it, what it accomplishes for mankind, and that's what Mr. Reagan wanted to do. He wanted to do things that were not cost prohibitive, but created great results. He was a very humble man and a very dedicated man to our country. Great citizen who became a president who cared. And that he had great communication ability, obviously, and all of that, but he dramatically cared. And that's why it was such an honor to see somebody like that and be able to help in some manner.
Well, that must have been a huge honor for him to put that much confidence in you. For how many? For 4 years? 4.5 years?
Yeah, and it was only a few times a month, maybe 6 to 8 months a year, because it's not something that happens year round. Congress steps out and all of that sort of stuff. But there are things that he wanted to make sure that the projects that he was moving forward were viable, fundable, and made a difference. And he just had a great heart. I just can't tell you. He had already done so many things in life that many people would say that was the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kept on going.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
oh, yeah.
Really great dynamic man, and just so humbling to be able to hang out and talk with him. And he used to have, he had a great statement. He used to say, at his age, he didn't have a political future, which was a way of saying you can't buy me.
Oh, that was great. I remember him in one of the debates, was it Dukakis, and talked about Reagan's age, and he said, I won't hold my opponent's youth and inexperience at fault.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that was one of the classic moments in all of those debates. So let's talk about leadership a minute. One of the important principles that I'm hearing is that great leaders reach out. And you heard me speak at the CEO Club recently, so you kind of know some of my stories.
Sure.
Talked about Cal Turner going to Dollar General, his lead team, and saying, I've got the skills, you got the talent. I mean, I got the vision, you got the skill. And he said, leadership, Hugh, is about identifying your gaps. So part of the wisdom of leadership is bringing in capable people who will give you the information in order to make good decisions. And Edward de Bono writes books on thinking skills. And somewhere in all that literature, he said that having data is useful for making good decisions. So in the realm of leadership, we're all championing a vision. And I've had the chance to work with, I'm sure as you have, some really great leaders. And the better they are, the more self-aware they are, meaning they know that they don't have all the answers or all the abilities. So they reach out to others, which is not minimizing their authority or their leadership. It's actually raising the bar on their leadership. So I see, and the people that were the greatest, I've worked with some of the top conductors in the world, and they know what they don't know, and they're very humble, and they serve the music. I spent 1,000 hours or so with Robert Shaw, who changed the world of choral music everywhere because of his dedication and his focus on excellence. But when we're taking breaks in rehearsals, he's working on that little extra. And when he died, the obituary said that he felt inadequate. So comment on some of the great leaders and their insights to bringing in other opinions and not feeling like they know it all. Because to me, a leader that knows it all is dangerous.
Yeah, I believe leadership is servant leadership. I believe that servant leadership is what really grows. And if you look at somebody, I'll use Bill Gates or Ray Kroc as examples in the marketplace, that Bill Gates made less than everybody who worked for that corporation per hour because he managed all the hours. So if you divide all the hours into what he made less per hour. Or Ray Kroc with McDonald's, they make 2%, meaning 98% went out to everybody, but it went out over 40,000 times because he helped an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
And they owned the asset. They owned the land. So that what he did was empowered thousands and thousands and thousands of people to go strive and rise to higher reigns and serve the masses. That certainly you'd have to agree that McDonald's serves the masses, not only in eating and employment, but if you put a McDonald's in any community, the value of the property goes up. And then how many people, because McDonald's did what they did, have duplicated the franchise system? So it isn't just linear, it's exponential, the number of people that have been impacted because one guy got an idea and built a system that duplicated it. So to me, leadership builds other people. I think, spiritually, Christ washed the feet and he sent the disciples out to build the churches and went out to the four corners. And so when I look at that, he was going to, through the Holy Spirit, empower them. But the point was that he was no longer going to be there. They were going to be doing it. They were out the feet on the street, so to speak. So I just am empowered and have been brought up in a family that was the same, what I grew up with. And the people I've surrounded myself in life were all servant leaders. And so growing them. And so I don't look at a corporation that looks like a pyramid. I look at it the other way. I look at it this way. And they grow. It's like the roots run deep into the, like in Jeremiah, the roots run deep into the water so that there can be fruit on the tree. So to me, that's great leadership, empowering and lifting others.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You heard me speak at a couple of the CEO clubs, and I think that transformational leadership, which is what I champion, and servant leadership are in the same camp because it's about the vision. Yep. It's not about me. And it's about empowering and enabling.
Yeah, if you think of the people that would draw something that would, like a corporation that would look like a pyramid, the reason they would do that is not that it actually works like a pyramid in reality if it's going to be successful. They do that because the English language starts at the top of the paper. So they write the CEO in at the top rather than at the bottom. But the truth is, it works, always lifts up if it's going to sustain.
I would love to see. Yeah, what was that last sentence? I stepped on you, sorry.
They stand on the shoulders of. In other words, that people stand on the shoulders of giants. You've heard that expression, and that's the way that works. And when it doesn't work that way, when people don't do it that way, they get an ego at the top. There's always going to be an ego somewhere along the line in there that's going to replace them. Look at how many different denominations there are. Really, there's that many popes.
Awesome. Well, we're in the nonprofit chat tonight. This, if you listen to the audio on the podcast, it's the Nonprofit Exchange, which Joel, we as of today have 11,500 listeners there. So there's a lot of people that will be listening with great interest to what you have to say. So we're talking about this great adventure and great service that you provided to the country along with Ronald Reagan. And my second question, I've thrown these out on Facebook and on Twitter. So if you respond to these questions, Facebook, we can see it in a continuum, but on Twitter, put in the hashtag NonprofitChat as one word, hashtag NonprofitChat. But the first one is, what are the key financial points to analyze? And Joel, you gave us some really good things to think about. Our friend Russell Dennis, who's in Denver, is transcribing some of your sound bites in the chat box. So if you're on Zoom, look at the chat box. You'll see some of the notes from Russell. If you're not there and you want to join us and you're watching live on Facebook, go to nonprofitchat.org, nonprofitchat.org. And on the podcast, you can go there anytime and look at the previous recordings and the previous notes. There's also the link to join us on this webcast, and just promoted some people in. I see Bridget is here, and I see Russell, you're back. You went out. Nick has gotten up early. He's in Taiwan. So I want to move to the next question, Joel. This is out there on social media as well. So we want to move ahead, and we have an S on our shirt for Superman or Superwoman because we're an entrepreneur. But it's really important to have someone that's got some experience with finances working with us, especially as we're launching new initiatives. So let's go back to the function you performed for Ronald Reagan and probably many others. And you taught school for a while and taught mathematics. So why, those of us who are visionary leaders, why is it so important to have someone like you that we have access to, either as a contractor or consultant or a staff person or a board member in our organization? Why isn't it so important to have someone with the financial eyes like you have?
Well, most people are creatures of habit, and we all are, I believe, and quite frequently somebody could have a vision and they're not particularly, they may not understand the numbers and things that make that vision a reality. For example, you've heard the expression, if you build it, they'll come. Well, that's putting all the money up front and then assuming they're going to show up. Well, that's not a successful model. The way to do it is to build it with the people. Go find the people who are going to come. For example, if you were going to do a real estate project for 100 homes and you went out and found 300 people who would do a pre-application and put $500 down with each pre-app, and it'd be easy to do 100 homes if you have 300 people who are already committed to buy them. Every bank, and if you have a developer, it's easy to accomplish that. So any initiative, anything that's going to happen, you go at the grassroots and build the numbers, then all of a sudden it becomes a reality. So to me, the notion of whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, it's all about building the people at the grassroots level who duplicate themselves, who pay it forward to help other people. In fact, that's the slogan of the Hope Collection, helping others by helping them help others. And that's the whole idea. That's when people grow. It creates the cycle of appreciation. For example, if I was in 4th grade and I wanted to learn how to do common denominators, the best person to teach me other than the teacher was the girl who's sitting next to me, because she matures faster than I do and she already knows. So she'll give me peer counseling. I'll figure it out, I'll learn. And so my skill set appreciates and I appreciate her. And if somebody wants to mess with her on the playground, they got to go through me.
Love it. Love it. So having a good leadership decision is finding people to fill in the gaps that we have as leaders. And we're not supposed to do everything. So it's really good to go and look for a skilled team. Let's go back to if we can, the topic of transitions for a minute. We think we're going to live forever, and we don't allow for any succession in our organizations. So part of the skill set you have in helping leaders look at the numbers, I guess I go back to the statement that the only thing that doesn't change is the fact that things change. We're always facing change, so we're always in a period of transition, not just in the government. I was listening to whoever the president of North American operations for Ford, and Trump tweeted this morning after he got a call from Ford. They're investing a huge amount of money in facilities in Detroit so they can preserve 3,000 jobs and retain 100 or add 130 more. But they don't cater to the 4-year plan because they're looking at a 10-year plan. So they've started this continuum a long time ago. But that's all part of looking at, we're in this period of constant transition. So what advice would you have to say to those people starting or leading a charity, especially a church, a synagogue, a membership association? What advice would you have in looking at the numbers as a part of looking at the transition that comes, and how do you create those indicators that we measure and we can continue to monitor? What are some of the important points that you'd like? I put you on the spot here, sorry. Some important indicators that people should consider.
each life is very much like a rocket that's shot at a target. And sometimes that rocket is being launched from a moving base, and that there's always, in the atmosphere, there's always things affecting it. And the target that they're shooting for may be moving. Now that's all calculus and differential equations. In other words, what's the probability? What's the likelihood? So how do you increase the probability or likelihood of something? Is that you do it at the grassroots. You build it, and you build it with the people who can have that vision at the upfront, and they begin to duplicate themselves by paying it forward, not because of what they can get, but because of what they can give. It's the golden rule. What creates success is treating others like you'd like to be treated. And so they then buy into that and accept that and duplicate it, and pretty soon you have a whole whole environment that's growing. My father created schools that he called it the cycle of appreciation, and they couldn't put them on the graphs with other schools because they had peer counseling. They all worked together, the students, and they grew. And long term, they had more people in the game playing successfully than the other schools. And that was a direct result of the collaboration of that happening. So to me, leadership is that servant leader vision that finds some others that want to duplicate that in some fashion, because all the skills are not the same in development, but the vision and the desire is great. And so you come together as a team, and the whole's greater than the sum of its parts. And so you get this initiative moving forward that all of a sudden you go, wow. And individually, I'm not sure any of us ever think it could be what it becomes, but because we did our part of it. But the whole becomes more than the sum of its parts.
That's one of the Covey's definition of synergy, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And to me, I was a basketball coach, and I played athletics my whole life, and I was an All-American and made it in the ABA and got cut in the NBA. And there wasn't one player who could do it all. Either was a great shooter, rebounder, outlet, got the ball up the court, played great defense, but nobody did everything perfect. I remember when I was a sophomore in high school, a guy told me, he said, you're not really fast and you don't jump great, so you got to get your left hand to work like your right hand. And I said, well, how do you do that? He said, well, what do you do with your right hand? I said, I write papers, brush my teeth, and eat my food. He said, start doing that with your left hand. And I did. I scored 1,501 points in college, 38% of it with my left hand.
Amazing, amazing.
Become more diversified.
Well, piano players have to use both hands, so I had to do that early on. We've been teasing people with the Hope Collection, so I'm gonna unleash here and let you go there. It's from what I've seen, it's a really powerful. It's a 501c3, but it's
yes.
a very powerful offering. So, how did you come up for the name for this 501c3, and then what is it? What's it all about?
Hope is my mother's name, and being my mother's name, she gave hope to the world every day. So we like that old idea. And she also was an artist, did shows with Norman Rockwell. And so collection made a lot of sense, that a collection of people who have hope. And so that was the basis of it. And through our life and our family, all of us have had different physical and issues. My brother, for example, had heart issues and had to retire early from teaching and coaching. And he became Curly the Clown in the Shrine Circus. And he traveled around the country blowing up balloons and turning them into little animals for children who had burn patient children in the Shrine hospitals. And so no matter what, we kept giving hope to people in our family. And that was the whole idea. 13 years ago, I was stage 4. And so being stage 4, they told me to get my things in order, and I said they were. Well, my point in saying this is everybody needs hope. It gets the needle pointed toward faith, or doubt gets it pointed toward fear. And so if people can live in hope, well, in the database that I created, the Virtual Value Interactive Network, when the Pentagon asked us if we could use that to help with the warrior families in transition, and they had 8 areas they wanted us to work in: faith, family, food, health and wellness, housing, energy, arts, and education. Core values of family and community. And so we created comprehensive programs in each of those 8 areas so that people who may have felt outside the loop, in other words, in doubt, now could be inside the loop and have hope, because they'd have access to the tools they needed to accomplish their own personal satisfaction plus serve others in doing the same, living the golden rule in those 8 areas. So that's where the 8 areas came from. And we have some of the finest performers in the world in each of those 8 areas, serving and meeting the needs of others. And they collaborate. Most of the organizations that help veterans in America do part of those 8 things. So they can put our site on their link. Now they have all 8 to meet those needs across the country.
I'm going to introduce you, I think I already have, to a gentleman on this call, Doyle Davis, who's he's partnering with Chuck and with CenterVision in Phoenix. And he's really put together a powerful team of people there to have several initiatives. Jobonomics is just part of it. So I think there's a ongoing conversation. So Doyle, unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to introduce you with an email after I get off of here. Joel, you just kind of whizzed by this. Stage 4 cancer. How many years ago was that?
13.
And you're still here.
I are.
See, nothing gets by me.
I had 34 days of radiation, and but that was, I never missed a day. I kept doing everything I always did.
Never missed a day. Well, blessings to you. I'm glad you are here. Otherwise, I never would have met you. You had told me that before, but somehow it had escaped my memory, which I have a very good memory, but it's extremely short. So let's do some more probing, if you're willing, on this Hope collection. What are some of the options available for the beneficiaries? And who would they be for the Hope collection? Who are the beneficiaries, and what's...
When we have special programs for vets, first responders, and extended families, and it doesn't mean that that's exclusive, because everybody that we have a site, a free portal for life. It's called Optimize My Life, and somebody can join that, and they have access from a consumer viewpoint of all the benefits that are available. We have over 9,000 online classes that people can take to become globally certified in professions: virtual assistant, life coach, search engine optimization, medical billing, medical coding, and on, grant writing, all kinds of things. They become globally certified very inexpensively, and that's in our education vertical. Now, over in homes, we have other benefits. You can't blow them over; they won't burn up. The FEMA tested at 250, all of those kind of things. We put a maintenance contract on the house as well so that it sustains, and that gives us insurable interest in the principals. So if somebody passes, then the house is paid off, and the remaining portion goes to the family to help secure their life. But many of the things we do, Hugh, we incorporate people and families so into a sub-S corporation and have multiple skill sets so they can be hired by corporate America as 1099s, because they don't need benefits as a sub-S. They can supply their own, and we help them do that. So they become multiple skill sets and open to the marketplace, and very easy to be a 6-figure income in that model. Not hard at all.
6 figures. Wow. How about ex-offenders? You mentioned military. Ex-offenders have trouble getting back into the workforce. Is that helpful for them?
Oh, absolutely. And because we work so much with family, that they can have aunts, uncles, say, for example, on a house, they can do a joint venture family mortgage. So maybe an uncle worked for IBM and has done very well. They can do a joint venture, get in the house, get the mortgage, and then this person develops themselves buys out the uncle, and they've got a house, but it gets them in it right off the bat with a joint venture family mortgage. A lot of ways to skin the cat.
Well, and you and I have had several conversations about, we've talked to Chuck Fulmer and Jobonomics, but you and I have talked about Center Vision Leadership Foundation and the Hope Collection in ways that we can work together. And so we're going to continue exploring that. But I think everybody on this call is a potential beneficiary of that, and the people that will listen to the podcast and are watching the live feed on Facebook, et cetera. Is there a link that they could go to learn more about the Hope Collection?
Yeah, if they went to the Resource and Research Center, which is rrcenter.org, and that is our Resource and Research Center that really has all the components in there. And optimizemylife.com or .org, either one work, is that portal that gives them access to everything that's available in there.
Let me repeat those. rrcenter.org.
Yes.
And then the second one was?
optimizemylife.org.
optimizemylife.org or
.com, either one.
.com, either one. And Russell Dennis is faithfully transcribing these. And we will have these on the notes for the video and in the notes for the podcast. You can find the podcast on iTunes at The Nonprofit Exchange. And like I said, today we've hit 11,500 listeners. So there's somebody that cares about what we're doing out there.
Amen.
Are you open for some questions from those people that are watching?
Absolutely. And one other site is mycoachescorner.com. And that's the whole, in other words, we can have all the tools, but if we have the tools and don't develop the people, then we miss the boat. So we have a life coaching system to help build too.
mycoachescenter.com, okay?
mycoachescorner.com.
Corner.com. Russell has transcribed it here. So I'm going to open up the mic for some questions for the people that are on the broadcast here. Russell, you've been very faithful in all of these, and you've been very helpful in transcribing and putting the notes, grabbing the sound bites. Do you have some comments or questions? Joel, Russ has been a co-host on many of these, and he's going to do the interview next week, and we'll tell people about that before we leave tonight. But Russ, do you have comments or questions?
Oh, yeah, it's good to meet you. I've just been taking in a lot of things with interest, and it's very vast. And at some point, I'd like to talk to you again for the nonprofit culture of success with my 4 steps to building a high-performance nonprofit project, where we're profiling effective organizations. So I've got to cycle around with Doyle and Chuck Vollmer, too, because that's very important work. And so I'm excited about what you're doing. I didn't know about this platform, and it's very good for veterans and for people that were trying to get back on our feet, which really should be the main goal for any type of a charitable activity, not just to give fish, but to teach others how to fish.
Amen.
Yeah.
Russ, you always have great sound bites. Thank you so much. And Doyle Davis there in Phoenix, where it's warming up there in Phoenix. I've been there when it's 115. So do you see some connection with what you're doing and what this gentleman's talking about? Doyle, you're not coming through. I don't hear you. You're not muted, so maybe it's your mic feed. You can pull down the menu with the Zoom, the preferences, and make sure you got the right mic hooked up. I had the wrong one last time. We have Bridget Cook-Birch on here. She's just got her picture, but Bridget, if you want to unmute and have a question, I put you in the space to ask questions. Doyle, while you're looking at that, I'm going to go to Nick in Taiwan. It's 7:46 in the morning in Taiwan. You're up early, sir, and you talked to Russell and I before you went to bed. You were on the same broadcast. Do you you have any questions? You're going to be working with a friend with a nonprofit. Do you have any questions for Joel based on what you've heard?
Yeah, the question is, she's been doing this charity work for the last 7 years. But from what I heard from Griffin, nice to meet you here, Griffin. She has not much organization to track everything down, including that she didn't even register the organization yet, but she's working on it. So she helps a lot of people, feed them. She helps them with housing. She helps them with issues that they have in the families. But there is nothing to record that. So according to Griffin, there is ways to track all those things down and make them better and get other people involved to make it better. How can she do that? With a very small financial income that she gets. Can I send you the links? So then you guys can. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And with technology decreases the cost of a lot of things because of virtually today's, like, if you think about this notion, the people who have made the greatest difference have created systems, methodologies, like the franchise system, the Ray Kroc created McDonald's, or Bill Gates with tech, IT, and all that, systems that are duplicatable by other people. And it's really not complicated. It's just breaking down the thinking of somebody from start to finish creates a system. And so it becomes duplicatable as a result of that.
Right. One of her goals is that to have a duplicator everywhere. And this is what I'm doing now with her working, but I don't have any knowledge how to do that in sequence. You mentioned that you do have it, all this. There's any way that we can access that list of
Sure. Yeah, we can tie you in with no problem. We can tie you into our system, easy.
Nick, if you want to hover your cursor over the picture, there's a button for chat, and you can type in your website in that chat.
Yes, I already sent it.
Okay, you did.
That's for the charity.
Oh, I see that. Karma Water. Okay, got it. Oh, you're fast.
Well, no, I prepare because I knew the question going to come. So I prepare myself.
Yeah. And with your permission, this question of sequencing comes up a lot, and I've launched a program especially for nonprofit leaders. It's called leaderunbound.org. I'm going to put it in here. And so it helps you build out not only your skills, but your strategy, your implementation plan. It builds it out sequentially. So it's something that I would invite you to look at. It's an offering of Center Vision Leadership Foundation. We feel like there's too many things like Joel does that are too expensive. So I think, Doyle, I see you've come back in with a second device. Do we have you on audio now? Thank you, Nick.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I went from my pad to my phone.
Got it.
I did not feel like messing with technology, so I just switched to technology. Okay, Joel, it's my pleasure meeting you today. Hugh has been talking about you for the last few months that we've been working together, and I've been looking for the opportunity to meet you. In listening to your presentation today, there's quite a bit of commonality between us, and as with everyone else that's on this call, because what we all have in common is that desire to make a difference and to make change happen. And because of that desire, that displaces the desire of what I consider is the biggest problem when we look at the world at large, and that is that everybody chases after the dollar and then say that the dollar is not the reason they're going after it, but that is the reason they're going after it. What I found out, Jewel, and I'm focusing my topic to you specifically because of your history in finances. What I found out, Jewel, is that everyone that I talk to, it's sort of like me. It's something we got to do. We all got to make that shift in our head, and we got to be a part of. We got to be the thing that we create and the thing that we want, and that is the change that we're seeking after. And that change in and of itself removes us from the dollar, but yet the dollar is what we need in order to move forward. I have for years now, 10 years, put my life into developing an idea that's going to change millions of lives, but yet, and now that I'm trying to get the dollar to help to move it forward, I find that extremely difficult because I consider myself a creator and not someone that wants to go after money. And I find it extremely difficult to focus totally on money when I don't want to focus on money. Does that make sense to you, Joe?
Yeah, I think that point that I mentioned about the timing in which one does what it is they do. When I said that about like tomorrow, I've got to stop and see somebody who is has 50 lots that are available to build on, and I'm going to put 50 families in those homes. But I'm going to go find 250 people who say they want the homes, who will put $500 down on a pre-application before I do anything about getting financing for the 50 homes. When I take the developer along with 500 people to the bank, it's a drop in the bucket. It's a can of corn. They'll go. The bank will finance the building because I've got 5 times as many people who want it and prove they want it, and they can do it with a family member, the joint venture family mortgage, and that kind of stuff. So what the objective to me is never build it and then they'll come. It's go help them become it. Then you can build it, and that's when Christ said, "Go to the 4 corners." He didn't say go build a bunch of big cathedrals and then they'll come. What he said was go into the living rooms. And then you can build whatever you want to build. And that's always the case. It isn't go find the money, then build it. It's go build the people who want it. It's easy to find the money. Put the professionals with the people. You got a package. It's an equation. It's financeable. Because go ahead.
Okay, one thing that I'm doing, but I get lost in the mix because my idea is so vast and so large. I often get lost in the mix. But one of the things that I've done is to put the idea is to put all of these nonprofits together and make these nonprofits the foundation for creating the dollars that's to come. Like you just said, you want to put those. You got all the lots. So in my place, in my position, if you help me make this transition from my mind to your thoughts, each one of these nonprofits is the person that's going to go in one of those lots. So now each one of those nonprofits that I'm working with, I have to ask them to put something in the game in order for us to get the gain that we're seeking after. Is that what you're saying?
Almost. If the nonprofits will deal with the audience that they serve and the families of them, they'll be easily able to create their contribution portion of the larger project. That's not hard. And then at the same time, with what portion they bring, and then you put them together, the numbers that are all committed, they're easily financeable by you at a much bigger level as well. So you get 2 levels of financing at the same time. You may be familiar with CDFIs or CDEs, Community Development Financial Institution. That's non-bank banking. And that's another funding source from the government that's not a commercial bank, but it's funding for projects. I'm just using one example. CDFI.
What is it?
Community Development Financial Institution.
Joel, Doyle is talking to Chuck Fulmer
Yes.
and to me about doing a happening in Phoenix around the 10th of May.
I'll be there.
All right. So Doyle, I pitched it. Let's get us on a phone call in the next few days. And I think, Doyle, I'd like to share with Joel the team you've put together. Doyle's been working on this project. It's been germinating in his inner self, and it's starting to come together. So Joel, I think it's on the verge of really going somewhere, and I think the pieces you're bringing to the table will be very, very important. So I will send an email, connect us, and
Okay.
Russell is another one I think you would value having a conversation with. Nick, thank you for weighing in. We still got Emmanuel. Are you still here? No, he had to go. No, Manuel, you're there. Manuel, do you have a question that you want to share or comment?
No, I just love the information. It's great information. I love listening to everybody's ideas come together. It makes me grow as a person. So as you guys say, standing on you guys' great shoulders, I thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. And Manuel's in the Unbound Leader program with some other folks who are not on the call tonight, but they're watching on Facebook. Bridget, it's good to see you after so long. I can see you in person and not just your picture.
Yeah.
Do you have comments, or I forget, are you in Salt Lake City?
I am in Salt Lake City.
Oh, great. I'm maybe coming out there next month or month after, so let's keep in touch. So
Okay.
do you have a comment or question for our guest tonight?
Well, first I want to say what an honor and a pleasure. I have to teach tonight, so I've been hopping on and off, but really enjoying what you had to say. And I liked looking at your membership portal to see what was available. And also, Hugh, I had sent some of your information to our founder. I'm the executive director of She Rose United, and we're working with 3 different pillars. Human trafficking, abolishing human trafficking, eradicating domestic violence, and also supporting our women warriors. And I noticed on your Hope portal that you had a couple of programs for veterans and first responders, which was intriguing to me. So the Warrior Gateway and then the Soldier for Life programs. And so I'll be checking that out. But if you have any comments or things that we could do to optimize what we're doing. We've been working for so long, and we're now getting into grants and private grants and that type of thing. But sometimes we spend so much time trying to get the money in to serve the people that we already have. We have more people than we can serve. And we've been growing worldwide all of a sudden. Within the last 2 years, it's like Africa is calling, India is calling. We just have so many places, women in Russia, all over the planet. And we're having to systematize everything. And so, and make sure that we can take care of what's happening here at home, and then we can spread out into other chapters across the U.S. and then across the world. So we'd be very interested in knowing what you have, to help that systematizing. So I signed up for that, Hugh, but I would love any other suggestions that any of you might have.
That goes to Joel. That's his portal.
Yes, that goes to Joel.
Sure. And I would love to have a conversation outside, phone call. We can talk back and forth, and email and that sort of thing, because you're very welcome to use our database management system to accomplish your objectives.
Oh, sweet.
Which would decrease your cost dramatically. And at the same time, it would increase your revenue dramatically. So you win in both directions. And that's really what we do. We help others by helping them help others. That's what we're all supposed to do, the golden rule, which is what I learned from my parents, and that's why it's called hope. Help others by helping them help others. And so you got a lot more muscle in the game than just you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. And if you all will email me after this, actually, I have everybody's email except Bridget. I don't have the one for the current organization that you're in. So if you'll email me, I'll make sure that Joel has the way to connect with each of you.
Hugh, can I ask Bridget that, or state to Bridget that I would love to talk with her about human trafficking, where she can educate me, because human trafficking is big on my list of hope. It's crazy that Joel is using the word hope at least 10 times today, because if someone asks me exactly what it is that I'm doing, my acronym of HOPE is my explanation, and HOPE is helping others prosper efficiently. See, each one of us are nonprofits, and one of my biggest goals is to put nonprofit on top and rather than at the bottom of the pecking order. And I really appreciate the fact that he's using hope, because that's kind of like a stimulus to me. Okay, we're on the right track here, Doyle. If this guy has created hope, then that's great. But back to you, Bridget. I would love for you to educate me on what you know about human trafficking, which is modern day slavery, because that is huge on my list of areas that we're going to be working with.
Beautiful. I'll be happy to connect with you through Hugh when we can.
Yeah, I'll make sure to connect. And I do these one-day leadership empowerment symposiums, and I've been in Joel's area several times, going back on May 19th to Vero Beach. Joel is north of Orlando, but I'll be going back to Vero Beach, and Joel, want to get you involved in that conversation with the charities. There's so many of them down there. Bridget, I'm looking at first part of May, coming to Salt Lake City. I'm talking to Aaron Johnson and working with him, so I want to make sure that you're in the know there.
If you can, I hope it's like the very first weekend. Otherwise, I'm doing a leadership retreat in Italy the second weekend.
I'm looking at the first right now.
Oh, perfect. It's
up in the air, so I need to put it to focus. I'll be in Grand Rapids, Michigan on April the 26th. Nino's Italian Restaurant, but there's a group of charities there that are coming together. And I find, Joel, everywhere I go, the first topic is leader burnout. The burnout for our executive directors is 45%, so it's huge. The second one is board underfunctioning and lack of member engagement. And the third one is lack of revenue. So, and I sent you my notebook from that. Russell has attended to and been presenters at 2. And so I've done them in 22 cities, and I'll be doing one a month the rest of this year. So, Nick, if you go to leadershipworkshop.org, leadershipworkshop.org, you'll find the upcoming schedule, and make sure that you're on my list, my mailing list. You've got this invitation today, so you probably are on one of my lists. So, Joel, this has been more information than my brain can process in 1 hour. And so you're just such a wealth of information. We'll have to do this again. We've attracted some really important champions on this call, and I don't know how many are out there watching Facebook and how many are going to watch the feed. The feed will be up tonight later on NonprofitChat.org. There'll be the video with some of the notes that Russell has kindly captured for us. But as we end this hour and 10 minutes together, what parting advice or thoughts do you want to leave people with from this vast hope collection you've given us, or just some hope for them in the great impact that we can have individually and certainly collectively?
I think that I was a basketball player and coach, and I want to use this analogy that if you were to think of the great college coaches, one of the things that's common amongst them all is they are great recruiters. They go to the grassroots level. They get on a plane, they go in the car, they go and they find the people who are performing, who want to achieve at the grassroots level. They see them in summer leagues out in the cities, or they see them at basketball camps in the summer or whatever, and they find the players that want to perform, and then let's say they have 30 of them that are prospects, and out of that they're going to recruit 3 to 5 of them. to come to their university. Well, my point in saying this is there are people all over that you can work with that'll compound the activity of the leader and not burn them out. It's the burnout happens when they're all alone and they're working with the people who don't want to perform, and they're trying to get them to perform instead of finding the people who want to and working with them, and then it radiates out. It radiates out exponentially, and so the people. And I'll be quiet. I'll shut up with this last little comment. When I started coaching basketball, the school that I went to coach in had not had a winning season in 11 years. And I went to, once I got the contract, I went to the playground to play. And so I'd play 1-on-1 and then 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, make it, take it to 11 and win 11-0, 11-0, 11-0. I did that Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday, I didn't show up. And then Friday, I came back with my car filled with basketballs. I took the basketballs, and Johnny came running over. He said, "Coach, coach." And so I put Johnny's name on the basketball and his number. And I said, "Johnny, use this all summer and to practice with at home and here, but you got to bring it back because it's a school's ball. I don't want you to get in trouble. Bring it back the first day of school." Well, I gave out about 40 to 50 basketballs. When I saw the basketballs the first day of school, I found out who cared, because their names I couldn't see, or the number on it was worn off. They were the kids that used it. The other kids who brought the ball back with their name on it, they didn't care. They didn't use it. They spoke it, but they didn't play it. Now, my point is simple. What happened is, in 7 years, they won the state championship. I wasn't there. I was only there 4 years. I did exactly the same. In the second school I coached at for 3 years, and they won the state championship in 7 years again, because they found the kids who played, and I set the families up on goal setting with the favorite teacher on that, with the kids who made the team. So all of a sudden you had groundswell, and everybody, instead of wrestling or playing soccer, they were playing basketball, and the fans were in the stands, and so they had support behind them and with them. So it's building the people who care and working with the people who care. Then it grows, because you can't stop it. There's my final thought. God found the people who live in the golden rule.
I see lots of high fives on the screen here. I want to thank everybody for being on the call. Bridget, it's good to see you. It's been forever. Let's make I got some other thoughts for you and some connections for you. Joel, you've been brilliant, and thank you for spending your time with us tonight. And this will be live on Nonprofit Chat tomorrow. The Nonprofit Exchange tomorrow. It'll be live tonight on the nonprofitchat.org. Joel,
my honor, Hugh. It's my honor. Thank you. I appreciate you all.
Well, thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Hugh.
God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.